So apparently Monster Hunter Wilds, the sixth main entry in the Monster Hunter series, is coming out in 2025. It's gotten a trailer which shows not very much monster hunting, but serves as an enticing tease nonetheless. This announcement has gotten Monster Hunter fans excited, but I don't count myself among them, mostly because I haven't played any of them yet. But with the recent sales putting Monster Hunter World in the price range of even this Undead Soldier, I have little excuse but to see whether or not this is a sufficiently dead game for my tastes. Greetings, it is I, Skullcase. Join me as I play this 5-year-old game alongside a massive wave of both new and returning players. We're all getting excited for the next entry in a series which isn't coming out anytime soon. Now, although I've never played a capital letter Monster Hunter game, doesn't mean I haven't played a game where the main gist is to fell massive beasts. I'm talking about Monster Hunter's Fortnite-looking third cousin once removed, Dauntless, a live service game by Phoenix Labs. All I really have to say here about Dauntless is that I spent a decent amount of time in the game, probably about 200 or 300 hours, and that I thoroughly enjoyed most of that time. But during my short foray into the Dauntless community, one thing I heard over and over again was that Dauntless is like Monster Hunter, but less complicated. Dauntless is like Monster Hunter, but faster. Like Monster Hunter, but more simple. But lighter, but for kids. But less complete. But missing features, but without the tracking. But stupidly simplistic, but not as good as the real one, which is called Monster Hunter. Well, I'm here now, so let's get to playing. The first thing I noticed was that this game looks terrible, and that everything looks blurry as if seen through myopic eyeballs without corrective lenses. It takes me a while to figure out I need to turn off the motion blur, depth of field, and start the game in DirectX 12 mode. Ah, all better. Now that I can see, I like the look of this game quite a lot. There's some goofy over-the-top stuff going on with the visual design, but overall, it's a good look. Look at this. Look at that. Look at my very own cat. Aww, how cute. So now, let's choose a weapon. There's no choice in the game that will have a greater impact on your experience than this one, and judging from the videos I've seen of other people playing this game, this is a pivotal decision. Though you can switch your weapons between hunts, I get the idea that most people pick one and stick with it. For me, the choice is easy. I'm called Skullcase after all, so I like to think that I know a thing or two about my namesake. What better way to go about monster hunting than cracking a few brain cases open? So hammer it is. Also, it might remind me somewhat of my main weapon from that other monster hunting game, of which I'll never mention again for the shame of playing an inferior product. Alright, I've got a weapon. I'm an official monster hunter. Or at least, I will be once I've hunted my first monster. It's time for me to conduct some research on the structural integrity of monster faces. Let's see here. A great Jagras. Such a bashable head. Pookie Pookie? Yes. Pink T-Rex? Oh, fuck. It's at this point I realize I have to try a little with some of these monsters, and I'm starting to get a picture for what is in store for me as I make my way through the rest of the game. Let me lay it out for you. First you explore a new area, figure out the layout and such, which at times can be like trying to find your way through a labyrinthine network. Then you begin ripping leaves off of every plant you see, throwing every wayward bug into your satchel to be ground into potions and other useful engines. Then, once you gather enough consumables, you track down your target by sniffing their footprints and the glowing goo you find laying around, until the findy bugs catch your scent. Then, you follow the findy buggers until you discover the location of your target. At some point, you're going to have to fight, and boy, is it a fight you're in for. The bosses you might recognize from other games, that's just an everyday occurrence in Monster Hunter. You've got to bash, slice, or explode your way through some truly massive health pools. You've got a lot of creativity in how you do that. The first creative choice is that ultimate one we already made in our starting hour, the choice of which weapon to use. Since I'm using the hammer, that means that whatever monster I'm facing, it's usually best for me to go straight for the head. Not only do I do more damage if I hit the monster in the head, I also start to build up a hidden stun damage counter that brings me closer to giving these beasts a concussion the likes of which they have to spend precious moments of their life to recover, while I do my best to do lasting brain damage. In fact, as you get further through the game, you're going to start seeing these monsters as a bunch of undivided steaks ready for the chopping or tenderizing. Targeting specific body parts can have different effects on the monster, with some monsters being more or less resistant on different parts of their body, and yielding extra materials if that part is broken. The downside to wielding a hammer such as I do is that you'll be incapable of slicing off tails without help from other hunters wielding a bladed weapon, such as a greatsword. And speaking of other hunters, you can easily party up with up to 3 of your friends, or simply use the SOS signal built into the game to open up your missions to the public. In most cases, this is a much easier way to go about things, but if you're up for a challenge, going it alone can be quite satisfying. I recommend trying to defeat each new monster by yourself first. Then if you simply can't handle it, or if you're repeating the same monster for materials, fire off that SOS so you can get past the fight easier. Usually, you'll get at least 1 or 2 veterans who will make short work of your prey. Despite the lack of a visible health bar for monsters, there's plenty of feedback that you can use to make decisions and estimations. For example, scars will appear on a body part that's been broken, allowing you to make the choice of whether to keep attacking that weak part or switch to an unbroken part for more material. In the case of my hammer, I get a nice rattling sound like a big bag of coins getting jangled when I properly bash a brain case. Once you start getting a monster down to its last 30% health, they start shedding these spikes at each 10% interval that can be used as an ammo in your slinger. But more importantly, they give you an indication that you're about to take the monster down. Tenderizing isn't just a figure of speech in this game either. It's an actual mechanic that you can use to temporarily weaken a specific body part even further, denoted by a different kind of visual cue on that part, and a new highlighted hit marker. Just after bringing the monster down to 19% health, they're going to start limping and running away from you, letting you know it's time to move in for the kill. Chasing your foe down is part of hunting a monster as well. The scoutflies will make it easy to find your target once they start to flee. Sometimes when a monster gets enough distance from you, they'll find a nice place to take a nap, which gives you the opportunity to prepare before giving them a rude awakening. Once you've slain your opponent, it's time to claim what's yours. Don't let anything go to waste, and start carving away. So what's this world part of Monster Hunter World? There are 8 main areas in which the game takes place. 2 of these are hubs where you prepare for your next hunt, manage materials, craft items, and forge equipment. This is where you can tinker with things you've gathered and spend your earnings. The other 6 areas are ecosystems, which is where most of the hunting actually takes place. Each area is varied in its visual design and gives a good sense of place. Though I've never played any of the other Monster Hunter games, I get the impression that these ecosystems are the new innovation for this entry in the franchise. The monsters wander these areas, and seem to go about their business hunting, resting, swimming, and generally interacting with the environment like an animal would. Notably, most of the monsters tend to ignore you for the most part, unless you get up in their faces and start causing trouble. This is something that most movies and games get wrong. Monsters are often treated as if they're demons out to get you, but the animals that inspire them wouldn't really behave this way. Being a massive beast doesn't mean you're immune to pain. And why would a monster really care about you if it sees you as just another bug? The developers have put care into these behaviors, and they really stand out when you pair this with the environment that allows these creatures to show them off. And though I have no soul, even I feel a twinge of guilt for murdering these majestic beasts. But just a twinge. Now, as of this video, I haven't beaten the main story yet, but I get the impression that this game is meant for 2 different types of players, both of which it serves pretty well. The first type is the kind of person who's looking to play a game in a reasonable amount of time and finish it. And that's what Monster Hunter has in the form of the assigned quests that show you through the story and are accompanied by cutscenes. Once you've gotten through them all, you'll have seen and defeated most of the monsters, explored all of the zones a bit, and seen the end. You can then confidently say, "I've beaten Monster Hunter." You know, after like 60 hours or so, you roll the credits, and then you move on to the next hot game. But then there's the other kind of player. The kind that would scoff at the first type, and make effort to assert their status as a real gamer. This is the kind of person that recognizes that when the credits roll, this is just the indication the tutorial is over, and now the real play can begin. This is the person who wants to see their hunter rank go up until it can't go up anymore. They want to see their damage numbers grow. They want to see their mission time go down. They want to take on harder monsters with tougher variants. They want to craft all the armors. They want to master their main, second, and third weapons. They want to be the very best, like no one ever was. And boy, does this game have a myriad of cyclical systems to get stuck into, including limited time festivals, cosmetics, decorations, all that kind of stuff to keep you occupied for forever. Regardless of which type of player you are, Monster Hunter's not a game for people who don't want to be challenged. This game will kick your ass if you refuse to learn to engage with it. You won't win fights if you refuse to heal, and you'll be unable to heal unless you spend money in town or engage with the gathering aspects of the game. If you fail to upgrade your armor, you will die, as monsters hit harder and harder as you continue to progress to the point where a single hit can be fatal. If you fail to upgrade your weapon, you risk massively extending the time it takes to kill a monster, and in the most extreme cases, your target might not only evade you temporarily, but get fed up with you, and leave forever. So is Monster Hunter World the dead game I was hoping for? Well, it's better than that. It isn't a dead game at all, but rather a quite undead one. Perhaps it's more arisen from the grave than it ever has been, if the Steam charts are to be believed. Monster Hunter World isn't being actively developed anymore, meaning you won't be seeing anything novel once you fully progress through the game, but getting there is still an incredibly long journey that has kept an entire community alive in between this game's initial release and the next numbered release to come. Monster Hunter World is right on the verge of being an MMO, without quite stepping over the line. It has progression to keep a player occupied for a good chunk of one's mortal life, or in my case a small portion of my immortal retirement. But it's still somewhat finite when compared to the endless purgatory that is live service games, and that's a good thing. There's a good reason why after all this time people are returning, which is that Capcom's brand of steak harvesting simulator is pretty fun. I still have more to play of this game, and this isn't the last I have to say on the matter. Perhaps I'll break down that other game of which I've promised never to mention again, and compare it to Monster Hunter World in the near future. But if you want to see that, then too bad. I don't want to see that sub count get any bigger than it already has. I'm counting on you to keep Skullcase a dead channel. Rest in peace, Skullcase out.